All right, CBS is saying that KJ Bolden is somebody to watch in Georgia's spring game. He's one of the freshmen to watch around the country. Here's what was written. Star safety Malachi Starks is out for the spring for Georgia, but that's open opportunities for Bolden to get early reps. Bolden is a freak athlete who was a track star in both running and jumping at Buford. And his athleticism and closing speed translate to the football field, while his frame is smaller than some other elite safeties. Bolden brings an air of physicality that has already turned heads in Athens. The Dogs lost a few players in the draft, clearing space for Bolden to enter the rotation. Just real quick, to be precise. When Kirby spoke with us earlier this spring, he said that Malachi Starks would be limited for spring practice. Now, what that means, I don't know. I mean, I don't take that as him being out, but we only get to see so much. So, whatever. And to be clear, that's not to beat down the person who wrote this, whose name is Shahan. Oh gosh. All apologies. I'm not trying on the last name. People try them and they mess my last name up all the time. But a lot of times the folks that write these kinds of stories at larger networks, they're not on the ground, and they wouldn't have that perspective or know that Malachi is limited, whatever that means. That could very well mean out, but I think if he were out, he'd be considered out. That would be something that Georgia. Well, that's something that Kirby would talk about. I mean. When you look at this, I just want to say this real quick before I start talking about KJ. I mean, Bo Hughley, he's out for the spring. Spring. Tyrion Ingram Dawkins, he's out. Smile Munden, he's out. Starks is limited. Christopher Jones will be limited. Christian Miller will be limited. Branson Robinson was not cleared for the spring after suffering a ruptured patella tendon last August and missing the entire spring 23 season. Kirby said he will likely be cleared just after spring practice. Damon Wilson be held out. Let's see. He's a full participant. DeMello Jones should be out there. Colby Young should be out there. So just as a reminder of everything that's going on with injuries. Okay, so with all that out of the way, but I mean, listen, that's the whole point of us is we're here, and I want to make sure that we're as close to right as possible. That is something that came straight from Kirby. But back to KJ. Listen, saw him play a lot this past season. I do not recall him being what I would call, the description here is, oh my gosh, his frame is smaller than some other elite safeties. I don't remember that being obvious to me. I'll put it to you that way. It is obvious he's really fast. But at 6'1"ish, 190, I mean, that's not Trey Battle, I mean, I'm not worried about his size at all. And, he is definitely a super duper freaky athlete. That is 100% correct. Buford has done a great job through the years of just powering athletics. I mean, that's such a good athletics school. But KJ Bolden is probably at least as good as anybody that's going to school there. And there's a lot of really good athletes at Buford. At Georgia, he will blend in a little bit more. But there's going to be times when people are really impressed with KJ Bolden. Now, how quick that will be, I don't know. I mean, that's the part for me that is harder to know, because with Malachi limited, you got Aguero, you've got a lot of folks at DB, and Kirby and them seem to just produce people out of the thin air sometimes to take over spots. Everybody always seems to be worried about corner, and corner never seems to be a real major problem. I mean, I can't remember the last time Georgia was really just not good at corner. It's been a long time, but with all that said, listen, when you see Bolden, the first thing to me that jumps out is the speed. Like, when he was playing for Buford, there were times when he could change games because of his speed. And that was on offense. On defense, and these are only the games I saw. This is not like there were some times where he had interceptions. One time against, I think it was the Grayson game, but now I'm questioning whether it was that game or not. No, it was at the beginning of the season. I saw their first game, their last game, and like several games in between, and he flashed a lot. I was going to see Raiola, of course, because KJ. If you don't remember the story, so we're in the summer, it's coming down to it. KJ's picking somebody. I mean, I don't know that about everybody, but virtually the whole world thought it was going to be Georgia. It picks Florida State. So, I've got a lot of friends at Buford, and there was never the kid's a bad kid, forget him, all this stuff. That was never the case from people there. They think the kid's a competitor. They think the family's a good family. But that Florida State was the right pick for them at that time. Well, then they get closer to signing day, some things adjust, and I think that Georgia was the right play for him at the end of the day. He is still raw though. I might say that too much, but y'all, there's not a lot of guys that just come out of high school and you're like, oh, yep, let's just punch him in there. There's not a lot of Andrew Thomases, I guess, is probably the easiest way to put it. I mean, think about Jake Fromm his freshman year. Now, I know he's playing quarterback, but, I mean, he definitely was better in 18 than he was in 17. He was definitely better at the end of the season than he was at the beginning of the season. So, guys get better, and I think that's the thing for Bolden. Is he going to start? I mean, I almost always doubt it with guys. I mean, with freshmen, they're just, it's so hard to do it. And you've got in the secondary, so because you can move some guys around, you never necessarily know where certain guys could wind up. I mean, corners are always going to be corner, I feel like, but I don't know. I doubt it. I mean, part of the reason why is because you got Starks is definitely going to start, and then after that's harder to know. You got Dan Jackson. I mean, he's not trash by any stretch, but you got Thomas. Pope transferred in. I mean, there's a lot of guys back there that Daniel Sisova is back there. There's, and then I mean, I don't know where Aguero is gonna. They've got your corners and you got those other guys, right? And you're telling me that Starks couldn't play either safety. I mean, of course he could. It's just which one would you rather have him at? Dan Jackson. I don't know if Dan ever started a game. I think he did. I don't know that he didn't ever start a game. Dan Jackson plays a ton. So he did. Yeah, he started. I was going to say he started 5 games in his career, 4 on a national championship team. So if Dan stays healthy, it's hard for me to just sit there and go, oh yeah, a guy who is on the cover of a book about a national championship. Sorry, Dan. That's Dan Jackson right there. Dan Jackson got lit up right here, man. And I'll tell you right now, you couldn't hear it because over the tears of joy, but Dan Jackson got lit up. And you cannot see who he got lit up by. And Keeley scores probably no matter what. But Dan, I bet that was the most fabulous hit Dan Jackson has ever taken in his entire life. But yeah, I mean, I think that Bolden will. KJ Bolden is a guy that is going to jump out. The question is, is he going to be really ready to play against, and just as an example, the Marvin Harrisons of the world? Is he going to, because that's at some point you're going to be out there against someone good. And is he going to be ready for that moment? And we'll just see. And that starts next Saturday.